Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm in the corner. Uh, Welcome to my industry research project. My name is Elliot Korath, and my presentation will be about a subject that I am very passionate about, which is film restoration and preservation. I gained an interest in this from actually about a year ago when I did LA Quarter over the summer, and I spent a lot of time visiting movie theaters uh, that showed film prints. And because of that, I gained an interest in how they took care of them and led me to discover a lot of interesting stuff. So, one of the problems of shooting on film is that it decays. And most movies of the first half of the 20th century were filmed on what's called cellulose nitrate film, which is highly flammable and very prone to decomposing, which results in the photo that you see here. Many have crumbled into dust. Some were recycled for silver, and then for studios, because they didn't know about this or about didn't really care for preservation, I should say, they would destroy them in vault fires to clear space for new prints. So because of those reasons, 90% of all silent films made before 1920 are lost, forever gone, never to be seen again. And 50% of all sound films made before 1950 are also lost as well. And by lost in this context means never to be seen. There's information about them through records, but the actual visual image is forever gone. And so, because of film decay, the negatives and prints need to be stored in climate controlled facilities at a certain temperature with certain care to be had. But that's not only for black and white film, because color film also fades as well, specifically those that were shot on Eastman Kodak color film prior to 1983, uh, or any other film that was shot, sorry, not shot, printed on Technicolor with improper storage, as most were. Both of those kinds decay at a very rapid rate. So a lot of the films that you see that were printed on Technicolor uh, only exist as copies of the original. I remember when I saw, or not when I saw, but when I went to Technicolor weekend at the Siskel Center from the Chicago Film Society, they discussed, or in one of their pamphlets, that their print of The Wizard of Oz was a copy of the original. So that's one movie to take note of. So because the nitrate was very flammable, in order to have some form of preservation, studios switched over to using cellulose acetate film, which is also called safety film because it was safer. However, they discovered that it releases acetic acid, which is the key ingredient in vinegar, which causes accelerated degradation, which they called vinegar syndrome for movies shot on acetate. And even polyester film base also suffers from fading colors as well. And we'll get into how people or to I don't I'm not sorry. I'm not going to go into details on how they preserve the film because it's very technical and I don't have a lot of time, but I will discuss how the preservation movement began. As early as 1935, there were concerns about preserving film and film prints as well when the Museum of Modern Art in New York acquired the original negatives from the Biograph and Edison film companies, along with controversial director D.W. Griffith's filmography, so they could present to museum goers in their theater. And then in regards to world cinema, Cinematheque Francais was founded a year later, and they do daily screenings, and they're still the biggest, I think, Cinematheque and Preservation Society in the world. And of course, others following suit, including the Library of Congress, founding the National Film Registry in 1989. The Eastman House Museum in Rochester has one of the largest collections of film prints because they're dedicated to all forms of photography. The American and British Film Institutes have archives. UCLA has one. The Academy has one. All in the name of preserving these film prints. But but these, I should also preface it that a lot of this was not necessarily public. They weren't, no, the public was not being told of this. This was all being kind of in their own little circles until the 1980s, when these two masters that you can recognize had their own distinct reasons to get into film preservation. Steven Spielberg, he went back and viewed his master positive of Jaws, only to see that it completely deteriorated into mush. And Marty Scorsese purposely filmed Raging Bull on black and white film stock to raise awareness of how color film stock fades as time goes on. And about in 1990, Scorsese created the Film Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to film restoration that is run by fellow filmmakers. And this is just a list of names that have participated as or being on the board of directors. And you could read all of them. Some names stick out, other than Scorsese and Spielberg: Coppola, Clint Eastwood, George Lucas, Kubrick, Altman at the time, and then of course people die. So they added PTA, Wes Anderson, Ang Lee, Peter Jackson. But if you notice that before 2006, or before 2015, all of them are white men, minus Ang Lee. So they had an effort to diversify and bring in different filmmakers of different backgrounds. And you can see, other than Christopher Nolan, every single one of the names listed on here is either a woman or African American or Hispanic. And I thought that was incredibly important for Film Foundation to continue. And by 2021, they've restored and saved over 900 films, often to pristine condition, and including previously excised or censored footage, whether that be of the Hays Code or by studio demands to cut on a runtime. They've included it. So this is their website. Skip verification. Let's go to it. I hope this is still sharing. But if it's not sharing, I'll still say that the website, they have a screening room where you could watch some of the movies that they've restored. They have a list of all the films they've restored. They have a thing about the World Cinema Project, dedicating to previous or older films from all around the world that they've restored and that they have. And then they also give examples and visuals on how before and after preservation. So you can go on their website and noodle around that as well. So, and I don't know if this is being seen. I'll see later on the recording of this. But continuing on our trek, one of the obstacles though with film preservation is that many films don't have enough information on the film to piece together new prints. Just like how digital files have metadata, sometimes the physical prints don't have all they have together. And a lot of prints are often combined from others. So sometimes the soundtrack is missing on the film. There's a lot of damaged frames. Whole sequences are missing. So sometimes they just physically cannot find it all to restore it. But also the big one is cost, because the average cost of one photochemical restoration of a feature filmed in color with sound is between $80,000 and $450,000, with digital 2K and 4K restorations in the 100,000 echelon. And it's very expensive, which is why you don't see it churned out every day. It's always like every 2 to 3 months where there's a new one. The degree of damage on the print also influences the incentive. If there's a ton of damaged frames, they just won't even try to restore it if it's just beyond repair, kind of like a totaled car. And also recently, pace and demand are challenges, especially when you have repertory theaters having new 4K screening of this. Theater goers want to see near mint perfection. And as the community grows, there's going to be more and more demands for perfection, and sometimes it just can't be attained with very careful material like film. So those are the obstacles currently. But if the Film Foundation can save over 900 films, and by all means, it's still possible. So I just want to thank you all for tuning into this restoration or this presentation on restoration. If you're interested, I'd say there's plenty of research. There's actually uh, there's some master degrees in archival studies specifically for film. There's one at UCLA, one at NYU, and then one that's with the Selznick School from the with the Eastman Museum with the University of Rochester. So yeah, I say if you're interested, go look at those. If you have any questions about film restoration, you can always ask me. But I want to thank you all. I'll stop sharing. Peace and thank you.